Welcome, dear listeners, to Voices of Fear. In Asia, hotels are not just resting places. Many are built on old burial grounds, sites of war, or forgotten tragedies. Some cultures even warn, when you check into a room at night, you may not be the only guest inside. Tonight, we bring you a terrifying account from a traveler who checked into a hotel and realized something wasn't quite right. But before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. Across Asia, hotels are often linked with superstition. In Chinese culture during Ghost Month, it is said spirits roam freely, and hotels are among their favorite haunts. In Thailand and Malaysia, guests are warned never to leave shoes pointing toward the bed, for it invites restless souls to join you in your sleep. Some rooms are never rented out, their numbers skipped. The infamous number 4, for example, is avoided in Japan and China because it sounds like the word for death. The story you're about to hear comes from a mid-range hotel in Southeast Asia, outwardly ordinary, clean lobby, friendly staff, a warm welcome. But within its walls lingered something else, a presence that no amount of housekeeping could erase. Our witness stayed there only one night, and he swore he left with more questions than answers, and a memory that still haunts him. It was 2016. The witness, let's call him David, was a businessman traveling alone. His flight had been delayed, baggage was slow, and by the time he arrived at his hotel, the city outside was asleep. The streets were nearly empty, the neon lights flickering against puddles of rainwater. Inside, the lobby was spotless, polished marble floors, potted plants, a chandelier that gave off a soft yellow glow. Yet there was something strange about how empty it felt. Only one receptionist sat behind the counter. She smiled politely, but her hands fidgeted on the desk. When she slid the key card across, she never looked him in the eyes. "Your room is at the end of the corridor, 7th floor." Her voice trembled just slightly. David noticed, but exhaustion drowned his curiosity. He wanted only sleep. He wheeled his suitcase across the quiet lobby toward the elevator. The metal doors opened with a hollow groan. Inside, the cabin smelled faintly of old carpet and disinfectant. He pressed the button for floor 7. As the doors slid shut, he felt it. The sudden drop in temperature. His skin prickled. The tiny hairs on his arms stood up. The elevator creaked as it climbed, each passing floor marked by a dull chime. David checked his phone. No signal, just the reflection of his own tired face staring back at him in the mirrored panel. When the doors opened, the hallway stretched long and narrow before him. The carpet swallowed his footsteps. The fluorescent lights above flickered, not enough to fail, just enough to remind him that he was alone. The air smelled faintly of damp fabric, though the hotel looked well kept. Room 717. He slid the card. The lock clicked. The door swung open. For the first time, he hesitated. The room looked normal, almost too normal. A neatly made bed, white sheets tucked tightly, a desk by the window, a flat-screen TV mounted to the wall. But the air was heavy, thick, humid in a way that no air conditioner could fix. He stepped inside, dropped his suitcase, and closed the door behind him. For a moment, he simply stood there, listening. Nothing, just silence. Shaking off the unease, he unpacked, showered, and switched off the lights. The mattress welcomed him, but sleep did not. Because the moment he closed his eyes, he heard it. A sound from the corner of the room. Slow, heavy, like someone shifting their weight in a chair. Wood groaning under pressure. Deliberate, patient. David sat up in bed, heart pounding against his ribs. He stared into the shadows. The chair by the desk. Empty. "You're just tired," he whispered, forcing his breath to steady. "Just jet lag." But then, another sound. The bathroom door creaked. Not wide, not shut, just barely ajar. Enough for the darkness inside to breathe into the room. The faintest stir of air touched his cheek, cold and damp, as though someone had just slipped inside. His hand trembled as he reached for the bedside lamp. The bulb flickered, buzzing, before spilling weak yellow light across the room. And that's when he saw it. Not directly, not in the room itself, but in the reflection. The black screen of the television at the foot of the bed caught something. A pale outline, motionless. A figure standing where no one should stand. David's eyes locked on it. His breath caught. But then he blinked, and the screen showed only his own reflection, twisted and pale in the glow of the lamp. He told himself it was exhaustion, nothing more. He lay back down, pulled the covers tight. But sleep was not kind. At exactly 2:43 a.m., David woke again, this time not from sound, but from sensation. The weight of another body on his bed. The mattress dipped near his legs, pulling the sheets taut across his chest. Something, or someone, was sitting there. The air pressed down on him, thick, suffocating. His skin burned with gooseflesh. Every instinct told him to look, to see. Yeah, but he couldn't. He wouldn't. Instead, he did the only thing his trembling lips could manage. "Please," he whispered into the darkness. "Let me sleep. I'll be gone by morning." And then the weight lifted. The mattress rose back, slow and steady. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. David forced himself to glance toward the desk, toward the mirror, just once. And there, just for a moment, he saw her. A woman, long white dress, hair spilling down, hiding her face, standing behind him, watching, silent, still. David couldn't stay. He knew it. His body screamed it. At 3 a.m., he threw on his clothes with shaking hands, grabbed his suitcase, and yanked open the door. The hallway was silent, too silent. He stepped out, then froze. The corridor stretched ahead, impossibly long, longer than before. The patterned carpet seemed to stretch into shadow, swallowing itself. Above him, the fluorescent lights buzzed. Then, one by one, they began to flicker. A ripple of darkness moved toward him. And then, he heard it. Footsteps, soft, bare, slapping gently against the carpet, slow, deliberate, coming closer. David's chest seized with panic. He broke into a run, suitcase bumping against the walls, wheels squealing as they caught on the carpet. The elevator seemed further away with every stride, as though the hallway itself was shifting, lengthening, keeping him inside. He pressed the elevator button, jabbing it again and again, whispering through clenched teeth, "Come on, come on, come on." Behind him, the footsteps grew faster, louder. The lights above him began to die in sequence. Pop, 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 each explosion plunging more of the corridor into black. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. David lunged inside, slamming the button for the lobby again and again, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The doors inched shut. And just before they sealed, he looked up. Down the hallway, a figure stood, still, watching. A woman in white, hair veiling her face, her head tilted slowly, too slowly, to one side, like she was studying him. And then, darkness. The elevator dropped, groaning as it descended. David gripped the rail, eyes locked on the panel lights flickering past. But when the doors opened into the lobby, his stomach turned. The room was wrong. The receptionist's desk was empty. The chairs by the wall stood abandoned, their shadows stretching too far across the tiled floor. And above the counter, the clock, frozen, its hand stuck at 3:15. Not ticking, not moving. Time had stopped. David's breath came in gasps. He left his key card on the desk with shaking fingers, and without a word, without looking back, he pushed through the glass doors into the night. But he didn't stop. He didn't look back. Not once. David never returned to that hotel. He never even spoke of it for weeks. But curiosity gnawed at him. He needed to know if it had been all in his head, or if others had seen her too. Late at night, he searched online, buried in forums, anonymous blogs, and scattered guest reviews. He began to find fragments, patterns, warnings hidden in plain sight. Some guests complained of rooms that never warmed, no matter how high the air conditioner was set. Others described mirrors that seemed wrong, reflections that lingered a second too long, or showed figures standing where no one stood. And again, a single detail surfaced. A woman in white, always on the 7th floor. One review chilled him more than all the rest. Just 7 words, written without explanation. Don't accept room 717. Don't ask why. David closed his laptop that night and never searched again. In his own words, that night, I wasn't the only one checked in. And to this day, whenever business takes him abroad, David refuses to stay in unfamiliar hotels. He checks reviews carefully, avoids top floors, and never, ever accepts a room at the end of a corridor. Because once you've seen her, once you've heard her steps in the hallway, you never forget. And if the stories are true, she never forgets you either. David never returned to that hotel. He never even spoke of it for weeks. But curiosity gnawed at him. He needed to know if it had been all in his head, or if others had seen her too. Late at night, he searched online, buried in forums, anonymous blogs, and scattered guest reviews. He began to find fragments, patterns, warnings hidden in plain sight. Some guests complained of rooms that never warmed, no matter how high the air conditioner was set. Others described mirrors that seemed wrong, reflections that lingered a second too long, or showed figures standing where no one stood. And again, a single detail surfaced. A woman in white, always on the 7th floor. One review chilled him more than all the rest. Just 7 words, written without explanation. Don't accept room 717. Don't ask why. David closed his laptop that night and never searched again. In his own words, that night, I wasn't the only one checked in. And to this day, whenever business takes him abroad, David refuses to stay in unfamiliar hotels. He checks reviews carefully, avoids top floors, and never, ever accepts a room at the end of a corridor. Because once you've seen her, once you've heard her steps in the hallway, you never forget. And if the stories are true, she never forgets you either. So, what do you think really happened at this hotel? Was it exhaustion? The tricks of a mind pushed past its limits? Or was David sharing his room with a restless guest who never checked out? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to tell us where in the world you're watching from. And if you've stayed with us until the end, thank you. If you haven't yet, subscribe to Voices of Fear, where each week we bring terrifying true encounters from across the globe, and closer than you might think. Hotels are places where thousands of lives cross paths, joy, sorrow, beginnings, and sometimes endings. So when you check into a room late at night and the air feels just a little too heavy, trust your instincts. Until next time, stay safe. And remember, not all guests leave when the night is over.